Look at a handful of cosmic dust. It is cold, barren, and entirely inert, yet somehow, out of this lifeless ash, something sparks. Where exactly is the physical boundary between raw chemistry and a living, breathing organism? You cannot find that line just by looking. To the naked eye, the transition from dead matter to a living entity seems like an impossible jump. But biological life relies on mechanics, not magic. To animate the inanimate requires strict adherence to 4 unbreakable chemical rules. Master these 4 specific processes, and the matter wakes up. Fail, and it remains dust. Conquering these rules is the sole factor separating the living from the dead universe. The first rule is growth. A true organism must pull in raw materials from its environment to physically expand its mass. The second is reproduction. It must possess a mechanism to duplicate itself and pass genetic traits to a new generation. Third is metabolism. This is the internal furnace, the continuous chemical conversion of external matter into usable, sustained energy. Finally, response. A living thing must be able to rapidly sense and react to environmental stimuli to ensure its own survival. Now consider the sheer engineering required to execute all 4 of these monumental tasks simultaneously, entirely inside a microscopic, invisible unit of matter. Earth is dominated by 5 massive kingdoms of life, ranging from ancient single-celled Monera to the complex animals that roam the surface. But to see how the engine actually runs, we have to strip away the leaves, the flesh, and the bone. We have to zoom all the way down past the macro scale to find the ultimate biological architecture, the eukaryotic cell. Unlike the chaotic, free-floating soup of primitive bacteria, the eukaryotic cell is a highly organized, rigidly walled-off internal metropolis. The eukaryotic cell functions as a self-contained, microscopic city, managed by dedicated power plants, transit systems, and high-precision infrastructure. Deep inside this fluid space sits the mitochondria. Its inner folded membranes act like a roaring furnace, rapidly synthesizing raw biological energy. This output is called ATP. It serves as the universal chemical currency that literally pays for every single action the organism takes. Right next to these power plants are the massive logistical highways, the Golgi body, and the endoplasmic reticulum. Together, these processing centers sort, package, and transport proteins across the cell. They supply the exact physical building blocks required to fulfill that first essential pillar of life, growth. Millions of distinct organelles operate with blind, automated precision to sustain the physical structure of the entity they inhabit. But this metropolis is filled with internal threats. Enter the lysosome. It acts as a defensive unit, aggressively digesting invaders with highly corrosive hydrolytic enzymes. It is highly effective, but it comes with a lethal risk. It is known as the suicidal bag, because if a lysosome ruptures, those enzymes will completely dissolve the entire cell from the inside out. Contrast that dark, destructive necessity with the life-giving architecture found exclusively in plant cells, the chloroplast. Within its walls, carefully arranged internal stacks capture raw radiation from the sun. They use that light to trigger the chemical reactions that ultimately feed the global ecosystem. Cellular survival relies entirely on this incredibly delicate balance, managing highly destructive defensive enzymes on one hand, while executing miraculous energy-capturing mechanisms on the other. We can bypass all of this outer machinery and plunge directly into the absolute command center, the nucleus. Inside its dark core, you find loose threads called chromatin. This is the raw, unspooled data of destiny. When a cell prepares for rapid division, these loose threads violently organize. They condense into perfectly formed, dense, X-shaped structures known as chromosomes. If you zoom even closer onto the surface of these chromosomes, you will find individual bead-like structures called genes. And resting inside those genes is the final, indivisible core of the biological engine, the DNA double helix. At this scale, the definitive boundary separating dead chemistry from a living organism is revealed as pure information. That coded blueprint spans out from a single double helix, escaping the nucleus, building the cell, and structuring the human. It expands outward, scaling up through billions of precise divisions to cover the entire living planet. You are a walking, unbroken galaxy of microscopic machinery, flawlessly executing the rules of existence in every second of your survival.